Let me warmly welcome you on the English version of presentation of our Hayes salary guide for 2025. My name is Martina Lepa-Pošková. In Hayes, I work as an executive manager and I oversee the whole non-technical recruitment, and I'll be hosting this event today with you. And before we get to the agenda, I will just state quickly some organizational instructions. So if you look at the bar, there is a chat button. We would definitely like to hear your comments, questions, discussion. For time purposes, we can't do that live to respond to all of them orally or verbally, but please use the chat to pose any of your questions. And before we kickstart, then I have another guest who would like to welcome you here too, and that's our Managing Director, Agnieszka Pietrasik.
Thank you, Marti. Thank you. I'm pleased to welcome everyone to the introduction of our new salary guide. In a moment, I'll hand over to my colleagues, but first I'd like to share a brief commentary from my perspective. As many of you have likely noticed, the past year has been quite challenging for the labor market, with various forces at play, and I'd say even sometimes contradictory trends. For example, on one hand, there was a decline in the number of job offers, but on the other hand, we still saw high competition for especially highly skilled candidates. Along with a persistently low unemployment rate in the Czech Republic of around 4%, which is still one of the lowest in the European Union. On top of that, we've observed a strong focus on cost cutting by companies, and that means that many employers were not able to grow their teams as quickly as they might have wanted or sometimes even needed, I'd say. Some sectors had high demand for talent, while others, were quieter, definitely. And to share some interesting numbers, 45% of employers increased their staff in 2024, but 29% saw no change, and 24% even reduced staff. However, on a positive note, 83% of employers plan to hire more this year, which could mean more job opportunities. So now my colleagues will present the key findings of our new salary guide, and I hope you'll find the insights both interesting and useful. And thank you once again for joining us today. Over to you, Marti. Thanks.
Thank you, Aga. So let's start. I will not introduce Hayes too long, but what I just would like to mention is that we've been on the Czech market for more than 25 years, quarter of a century, and our area is qualified recruitment and related HR consultancy services, so white-collar business. What is waiting for us today? Together with me, you will be listening to our key findings in the research, in the surveys, and the surveys results. And then I will hand it over to my colleagues, and we will have a deep dive to these 5 specialisms. And we should approximately spend, let's say, 1 hour together. We will see. So what is the methodology of our Hayes salary guide? So the data that you find for each of the specialisms, these are actually a synthesis of the real business data that we find on the market. So wages advertised, candidates requirement combined with the actual real salary offer to the candidates. Then, alongside, we conduct a survey that always takes place in late autumn, and then these are the data that you will be presented now. We marked almost 800 respondents from the job applicants and employees, and alongside with almost 500 companies. So these data are quite relevant. Then who is actually or who was responding to the survey? On the employee side, we see mostly population of IT, on the employers side, we see population mostly of IT, sales and retail and manufacturing companies. On the other hand, when it comes to employees population in the survey, we see that many accounting and finance professionals were interested, as well as IT or HR professionals. What are the key findings that we marked? So we can state that different industries have different challenges and they are in a different shape. So we see that there are really significant differences even in recruitment activities for various sectors. For instance, we can see that quite strong segments that were actively hiring and probably will be were, for instance, positions in accountancy and finance, pharma and medical, then hence life sciences, or for instance, IT cybersecurity. On the other hand, we see or we mark a decline in the industries such as automotive industry, which is of course related to a situation in Germany and the big players, IT except for cybersecurity or, for instance, marketing. What we can summarize is that we see that companies are highly prioritizing retention of their employees and automation. So every company is focused really on cost efficiency, process efficiency, and making the most out of what they have, not really planning, dramatically expanding. We can see that also AI is really integrating to basically all of the processes. I'm sure you can see that in your companies too. And that is also related, to working smarter, not necessarily, investing more. Where we can see an interesting difference is to the approach of return to the offices. We've had quite interesting discussion yesterday on the Czech webinar that we see some companies really strengthening the office attendance and putting some stricter regimes to remote work or generally having employees in their offices, versus we can see that this flexibility and the chance to work from home or possibly remotely is still one of the highly ranked or the highest motivational factor from the employees' side. And this is a salary guide. So to show you what companies are planning with their salaries, we have seen that the average wage growth in 2024, when it comes to general salary increases, was around 3.5%. Individually, it was no exception that people could get even 8%. But in total, the average expected wage growth, combining individual and generic increases, is expected at 6%. But we will look at it deeper. Now let's look into some statistics information from our survey. So when it comes to priorities and recruitment of new employees, well, interestingly, we can see that the recruitment is not the utmost priority of the companies. We can see that the biggest priority that half of the employers marked is actually employee retention and automation of processes. So that is related to what I have just said. Companies are cost aware and they want to make the most out of what they have. Recruitment is the fourth priority, so expanding or getting new employees in. If you look at the right side, then we see how the headcount has changed in the last year. We see that 45, if I do the math for you, 45% of companies have increased the headcount. But if you look at the data closer, we see that most of the was up to 10% of headcount increase. So it was rather, gradually growing. No, large expansions. 30% of the companies have not changed the number of employees. Yet 25%, so a quarter of the employers stated that they decreased the headcount. This does not have to mean always lays off or basically laying off big numbers of people. We can see, and it's standard on the market, partial layoffs, reducing certain teams or individual people. But what also has been happening quite a lot is that once an employee has left, then the company has revised the workload, the agenda, and sometimes just did not replace but distributed the work to the current employees. If we look at the wages together, then what has happened last year? Companies said that 87% of them, so almost 9 out of 10 companies, said that their salaries in the company have increased. Majority of them said that the increase was between 2.5% and 5%. That's probably not a big surprise. These are the standard yearly merits or generic or general salary increases to all staff. And 12% of them said that they were not increasing. Yeah, so really the huge majority of companies have increased wages in the last year. When we look at employees, they are a bit more skeptical. So they said that 63% of them got their salary increased. And if you see the upper rankings, which are above 10%, between 10 and 20%, here I would comment that this is mostly either an individual agreement with your current employee or with their current employee, or it's related to actually taking the opportunity to change a job and ask for a higher salary. When it comes to recruitment plans of the companies, they will be still mostly focusing on permanent staff. So out of 5 positions will be core staff, but we see almost 15% positions will be open as temporary or contracting or some external workforce ones. On the pie chart below, we see that a third of the workforce is planning to change a job. That's a good news. On the other hand, 66%, so the other 2/3, are not planning to do so. Of course, anything can change, but it's their current plans. If we see the candidate motivation as, let's say, besides salary, because it's still the utmost important factor, but what they consider when they consider looking for a new job. And we see, and I'll be repeating myself, that it combines flexibility together with having a purpose, finding a purposeful job. When they have good atmosphere, good manager, they find purpose in their agenda and their work, but also it's an employer that will offer them flexibility and work-life balance. On the other hand, if I compare these COVID and past after COVID years, for instance, having the security actually starts ranking really, really low compared to last year's. Well, and what can we expect for the wages in this year, in the upcoming one? We see that 89%, if I count it all together, 89% of companies plan increasing wages. Most of them, again, no surprise, almost half of them or more than half of them plans to stay below 5% borderline, so 2.5 to 5%. That will most probably happen in most of the companies. There are a few of them that plan to be a bit more courageous, but also the same part that will probably increase up to 2.5%. But that's great news. Companies still are not, planning to heavily cost save. Again, employees on the right side are a little bit more skeptical because also they don't know what is cooking for them, right? How does the personal and financial planning looking like in their companies? But 72% of them expect that their salary will increase. Again, majority of them in the range of 2 to 5%, let's say. And again, the high ranks or the top ranks are probably related to changing a job or challenging individually the current employer to get a salary increase. And I think it's our last slide together if we look at the benefits as well, because it's also a crucial part of the remuneration package. Here, interestingly, I'll be again speaking about the flexibility. But if you look at the employers first on the left side, what they offer the most. It's 5 weeks of holidays, so 1 week extra. Here, I will appeal to all companies that do not have fifth week of holiday. This is something really crucial for success and of the recruitment and also happiness of the employees, because we see that it's what is most sought after from the employees or candidate side. So if you only have 4 weeks of holidays, it can be a really disqualifying, let's say, factor when a candidate would be considering your offer. Then companies still offer, let's say, a standard variety of benefits such as meal vouchers, certain home office or flexibility, or some allowances either for transport or sport. So there's still, I would say, no revolution. But when we see the employees chart or candidates chart, we see that these first three ranks are absolutely focused on flexibility, work-life balance, having flexible working hours, home office, remote work. So again, here I would appeal, if you are really considering tightening up the home office regimes, be aware that it is the highest motivational factors in employees to have a work-life balance and flexibility. What we actually see is that these benefits such as cafeteria, meal vouchers, or some allowances, they do not mark high in the motivational when employees are considering a new job, because we believe that employees take these for granted. They take it as an automatic part of the remuneration, and they do not consider it motivational anymore. But if you decide as a company to get rid of those benefits, I bet you will be finding a huge wave of dissatisfaction in your workforce. And that would be all from my side. I will be staying here together with you. I will be responding to your questions in the chat. But right now, I will give the word to my colleague Ivo Pešta and the others, because we'll be looking at deep dive into the specialisms. So Ivo, for business services, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Marti, for the word. Good morning to everyone. My name is Ivo Pešta, and together with my team, we mostly focus on recruitment within these shared service centers and BPO companies. And that's why I'll cover the business services trends. When we look at the past year, it's been mostly about cost-saving initiatives, sustainability, and expansion of automations. Key areas here include, of course, mainly robotic process automations, data processing automations, or cloud solutions. And the main reason is to reduce the costs, improve efficiency of the processes, and ideally save on the manpower and rather use the employees for more complex assignments. Furthermore, speaking of sustainability, new positions have been created in the area of ESG, meaning environment, sustainability, and governance. These roles usually have a global scope where the employees in question often deal with implementation of various environmental initiatives or need to secure the compliance with global standards, which is quite a hot topic in European Union. And for companies, it's also important to ensure a good reputation. So that's why they are also creating this kind of positions. Speaking of new positions, there has been also a significant increase in demand for employees able to communicate in a second foreign language. So for standard roles such as like accounts payable or accounts receivable or customer service, but also others, English is now considered a complete standard, and English-only roles are slowly disappearing from the market, and employers are now expecting candidates to be able to speak at least second foreign language. Uh, German and French and Polish are still one of the most popular ones, but we have seen also a huge or like increased demand for different language combinations, more exotic ones, Nordic, Danish or Swedish, or even like Hebrew, Portuguese, and other more exotic languages. And these requirements for other language often significantly prolong the selection procedures. And the question here remains whether it wouldn't be more advantageous and efficient for the companies to actually open positions with English only, as of course in case of passive roles where active speaking is not needed. As we also have quite a huge growth of AI, which can also help a lot with translations. So that remains a question also for the companies, if it wouldn't be maybe beneficial also for them. Another topic that has resonated and continues to resonate in the business services environment is the restriction or complete cancellation of the possibility to work from home. The main reason, of course, is the intention to maximize the use of expensive office spaces and to strengthen the company culture. Anyway, this isn't exactly met with really a great popularity among employees. Let's also tell ourselves how many times the home office option has come in handy when feeling slightly ill or while dealing with some situations at home. And we have already seen an impact of that trend as the missing opportunity to work from home or a low amount of flexibility was one of the most common reasons for an offer rejection. And currently candidates tend to prefer rather an offer that might be even slightly lower in terms of salary, but in exchange for higher flexibility. And moving slowly to the topic of remuneration, it is interesting to see that the wages in the neighboring countries within the Central and Eastern Europe are gradually approaching the level of the Czech Republic. Of course, we are talking about the business services sector, and it is no longer much beneficial for candidates from countries such as Poland, Hungary, but even Romania to relocate here. Of course, the political situation in some countries like Slovakia or Hungary could be supporting this relocation. However, from the financial perspective, it's no longer advantageous. But to finish it positively, the leveling of these costs could make Czech Republic attractive again for the foreign investors in the future, and that could open new or expand existing shared service centers here again and maybe boost economy once again. Now, looking at the attractive benefits in the sector, the possibility of working from abroad and to be able to combine work with travel or similar is still interesting topic for applicants, but also existing employees. Not only, and it's not only interesting for the foreigners to visit their home countries, but also for local candidates that enjoy traveling and combine work with travel. Some companies have already secured the relevant legal measures and implemented it as their legal benefit. Others are still relying on like some trust-based agreements. However, companies that haven't yet implemented it at all are risking to lose potential candidates. And since companies within the shared service center sector usually offer a similar benefit package, some extra benefits such as fully funded like public transportation or subsidized private doctors can make a big difference for the candidates. The presence of annual bonus is also an important, as employees can look forward for an extra income at some point of the year, and it can even keep them in the role, so they aren't considering to change and to look for a new opportunities because they are waiting for the annual bonus. Other factors that can lead to change are already mentioned flexibility, such as very flexible core hours, or even attendance system based on trust, so they can have more work-life balance, and the possibility of career growth or development is important factor, with candidates preferring to have a transparent career plan over flat company structure. As for any projected growth for 2025, in the sector, no dramatic numbers are expected, but only some consolidation around 2.5 to 5%, but mostly it will be around the 3%, with companies mostly choosing annual wage merits based on an individual employee performance, and the responsibility for the decision there is going towards the line manager. Below, we can also see some typical roles over the past year, with AP and AR positions showing specialist wage levels, where we haven't seen some drastic changes in comparison to the previous years. However, on the other hand, when it comes to general ledger position, we saw quite an increase in the past years, especially at the top end, where some companies are already willing to pay more for an expert accountant with good language skills, and are able to get more talents in their recruitment processes. I think that will be all from the business services sector. Of course, you can see more in the full version of the salary guide, or I am available for questions now or later. So maybe if you can ask something in the chat.
Thank you very much, Ivo. For now, there is one question that was already responded, but if you want to add something, you can. Meaning that we will move forward to HR and Yulia Ivanchenko.
Thank you, Marty. Hi, everyone. My name is Yulia Ivanchenko, and I work at Hayes as a senior account manager. Now I would like to present you the changes in the HR and administrative sectors, as this is my main specialization for all types of contracts and employment. So let's start with current trends in human resources. Human resources, or HR, in general are becoming increasingly important, and their role in companies is continuously growing. We see that the demand for HR professionals has increased, especially in the companies that are undergoing some kind of changes. These companies need HR experts who are familiar with local laws, who can assist with communication between employees, etc. As for the companies in the Czech Republic, they are mainly looking for HR directors, HR managers, and of course, HR business partners. Why? Because all of those positions are still irreplaceable in most cases, and they all play a key role in communication with management and with abroad. There are some new ways of collaborating with HR experts, which we are also seeing on the market, and they are still emerging. So as for the trend, there is a continuously growth in interest in temporary employment contracts and also B2B contracts. Especially we can see those type of growth for higher positions and also roles such as recruiters. Why? Because it gives a company flexibility and opportunity to hire people for short-term or long-term projects, such as seasonal recruitment assistant, or in situation where it is not possible to predict, let's say, the exact volume of positions to be filled in advance. Or when the companies undergo a reorganization and they don't know how many people they will need in the future. These situations also help avoid using headcount. Another use for senior position is a replacement for interim functions. On the other hand, we can see that if we're talking about lower administrative positions, they still prefer standard employment contracts for an indefinite period of time or like 1-year contract with possibility of extension. Also on the market, we can see another change, and it is the effort of companies to attract employees back to the offices. HR positions that were at some point remote are now relatively, I would say, rare or even impossible. Some companies plan a full return to the offices in 2025, while others are introducing like mandatory office days, etc. Regarding the supply, administrative roles are higher than in previous years, and of course, also due to changes in home office policies. This kind of automatically increases the need for administrative workers. Receptionists or office assistants with at least 1 year of experience in a similar position are often sought as well. We also should talk and mention the upcoming legislative changes in 2025, which are causing, let's say, mixed reactions. As the changes concern the extension of probationary period and also de facto shortening the notice period. Employees perceive them mainly positively, but HR teams are concerned about the uncertainty that comes with this, as those changes may affect payroll processes, force employers to adjust different processes, documents, etc., etc. There is another trend that is ongoing, is cost optimization in HR. We can still see the tendency that companies are moving some function abroad, mainly to the east, to save money. This trend has been emerging for several years now, with local branches being managed by HR coordinator or HR specialist, who then report to the global HR manager or global HR business partner. Let's move on to compensation topic. Employers are increasingly offering additional benefits such as extra vacation days or high contribution to sport activities. Very popular benefit is also a company car right now for private usage. We can also mention AI tools because they're being used more and more, even for administrative roles, administrative assistants, etc. Why? Because AI helps translate emails, to focus on translation documents, sorting documents, working with different languages, process large amounts of data and information, create tables, etc., etc., etc. As for the candidates, their motivation remain high due to the company's reputation, their future potential in the company, and also now relocation programs. The possibility of working from abroad, especially within European Union, is highly required by the candidates. And companies are becoming more and more open to this idea, and they try to adapt to appropriate demands. Also, candidates are more willing to work now on project roles than it was before, because now they see this opportunity as a great way to gain as much experience as possible for their CV and, of course, to advance in their career faster. Regarding the salaries, those in the HR sector will slightly increase by 4 to 5% in 2025. We can expect higher annual bonuses and also some additional rewards for senior roles. While we're talking about administrative positions, the salaries are expected to stay on the same level or to see some kind of stagnation. Employers will focus on offering additional benefits beyond salary to retain talent and also to attract new employees. Examples of how the salaries will be changing and all the salary ranges you can see in the table on the slide below. I just would like to comment that for receptionist position, the financial minimum for the role is 35,000 Czech gross, but it is really very challenging to find a suitable candidate, especially with good English for such salary. Candidates typically ask for 38 to 40,000 gross. And if the role includes more responsibilities than just welcoming visitors, inviting them, getting them coffee, managing the office, then the salary is more likely to be between 42 to 45,000 gross. Kind of similar situation occurs with HR business partner roles, whereas the minimum salary is around 65,000 Czech crowns gross. But for these roles, the job description often looks like more a senior HR specialist. And the salary are very typical outside Prague. For a comprehensive HR business partner function, salaries in Prague start at 80,000, with a typical salary being between 100,000 to 110,000 Czech crown gross. If we're talking about recruiters, the typical salary is around 55,000 Czech crowns. But of course, if we're going to mention freelancers for project roles, the salaries are going to be increased significantly. Finally, I would like to also mention an interesting fact that according to our survey, people working in HR are very satisfied and barely plan to change their employment, although they occasionally like to listen to interesting offers without then accepting them. That's all from me. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Thanks.
Thank you, Yuli. I think for now we can move forward, and if any questions, then I will direct you to the chat. So I think right now it's Katka Hrpova and flexible forms of employment.
Yes. Hello, thank you, Marti, for the word. So my name is Kateřina Hrpova, and I'm on the position of the Senior Account Manager in the team of External Workforce Solutions. And today we will go through the alternative forms of employment. We will start with part-time jobs, then we will continue with temporary assignments, and then we will end our flexible forms of employment with B2B contracting. So let's take a look on the part-time jobs first and the sector development and trends. We can see a slightly higher demand among students, graduates, parents during and after maternity leave. But what's mostly surprising is that it's also between senior experts. We are here speaking about senior candidates that appreciate their balance between like personal and work, let's say. That's also connected with improved flexibility. For example, working from home wasn't that common previous years. So nowadays we can see some of the positions which can be done from home office. Companies are willing to just approve this for the employees to stay at home and work from home. Also, it's connected with the flexible working schedule. For example, we can speak about a hybrid mode for part-timers as well. The typical use, we can see seasonal covers, maternity and parental leave covers, but also companies use it also for supporting senior employees. For example, when the senior employee is overloaded with tasks, they often hires somebody much more junior to help them with administrative tasks. Also, we can often see it during the reorganizations and transformations as well. If the company doesn't need a full-time expert, then they're just trying to save the cost, save the money, and just go for the part-timers as well. The main highlight of this slide would be that candidates' expectation or the hourly rates increase by 10 to 20%, and 20% is mentioned for the junior candidates. Now, let's take a look on the remuneration and benefits. What's kind of revolutionary here is that benefit system wasn't entitled for the people for employment agreements only for the employee contracts previously, but nowadays companies are willing to give them the benefits as well, especially a meal contribution or working from home, as I mentioned on the previous slides. It's also connected with the motivation, because the main motivation for those candidates is gaining experience by the internships, short-term jobs, and get the skills they want, but also gain some extra money, extra cash from the short-term or long-term projects or jobs. And the last thing is the simplified recruitment, because as some of you know, if we compare the full-time hiring and part-time hiring, it's slightly different. There are less rounds of the interviews, no case studies, etc. So that's one of the motivational points as well for the candidates. Last but not least, candidates have the higher expectation. That's what I mentioned already. But if the company will not give these like quality candidates, for example, with English skills, etc., will not give them the exact financial evaluation they propose, then we can see also some rejection of the offers, and these candidates are just waiting for something better on the market. So now let's move on to the table, which we can see below. And it's important just to mention that is for students, graduates, but for more senior people is really individual. So let's take a look on the minimum and typical hourly rate. You can see that it starts on the 180 Czech crowns per hour, and the typical starts on 200 Czech crowns per hour, and the maximum is around like 250. So I just would like to highlight that this is like really the minimum for these part-time jobs, because previously we have some client who proposed us really quality candidate with English for like 150 to 160 Czech crowns per hour, but nowadays it's really not possible to gain some candidates like that. So let's move on to the temporary employment and B2B contracting. And here I will mention only the sector and the remuneration trends. So as my colleague Yule mentioned previously, there are the projects. The main change, let's say, in this field is that project lasts only or it's longer, like 12 plus months. So previously it was much more less. And project roles are 3+ months, oftenly between like 6 to 8 months. And the main motivation for the companies is that they can take the agency employees to their company headcount internally. So they can, for example, check the stability of those candidates, their skills, etc., and they can take them internally then. Another motivational factor for companies is the outsourcing of the HR administration. It's gaining attractiveness in more sectors than before, and companies like that the responsibility lies only on the personal agency. So about the B2B contracting, my previous colleague Yuli already mentioned that as well, but here is really important to mention that is becoming also common in other sectors, not only IT, but surprisingly, it's also in sales, customer service, finance, mostly for like independent roles, mid-senior independent roles with no direct responsibility for the team. And also, why the companies are seeking for the B2B contracting is the cost reduction and less administration, because as you know, full-time employees or employees for employment contract have the benefit system, which is not for the B2B contractors, so they will save some money, some of that. So the main point or the highlight here is that financial remuneration depends on the length of the contract and candidate seniority, and it's usually higher on the project roles. So if you have any additional questions about some project role, just let us know and we will be happy to help you. So thank you for the words. If you have any additional questions, just let me know in the chat, and I'm passing back the word to Martin.
Thank you very much, Kačka. We can continue for now. So right now it's on our colleague Rashid to guide you through engineering and logistics.
Hi, everybody. My name is Rashid Haider. As said already, I'm in the engineering team here at Hayes, Czech Republic, and yeah, covering between engineering and logistics. So yeah, I'll go through some typical points here that we're looking at. Obviously, nothing's new here, I'm sure, to a lot of you, but I'll just clarify on points that you may or may not know. So right now, we're looking at the markets either stagnating or declining at the moment. When I speak about decline, I'm not talking about companies, getting rid of employees or permanent employees. We're looking at temporary employees declining or temporary contractors declining in some of these companies. So the main focuses here for companies are stabilizing their financial results, which are associated with pressures on quality, cost planning, and financial controlling. So some of the people that we're looking to, companies that are looking to get involved are cost planning engineers, plant controllers, and controlling managers. Some other points that companies are considering to stabilize these financial results are procurement efficiency improvements. And some of the typical positions that would help with this would be purchasing managers, strategic buyers, making the supply chain more efficient. Another point is obviously strengthening the sales teams, especially in segments with lower call-offs. Typical positions, as you know, BD managers, technical sales reps, and key account managers as well. There's also the aspect of operational enhancements as well through increased robotics, automation and digitalization, leading to more efficient production processes and the entire supply chain and increased productivity. Typical positions here that we're looking at, traditionally most popular in electrical engineering or mechanical engineering, or if they're looking for someone with both of these skills, then mechatronics as well, which is something that we're looking at. So as you can see, obviously we've gone over the optimization and the demand, and going on to kind of the stagnation as well, is mainly linked to the market situation in Germany, particularly due to the traditional driver, the automotive industry, and its associated supply chain like automation lines. Many projects in electromobility are being frozen or postponed at the moment. So yeah, we're looking at companies going into a diverse portfolio, which is quite beneficial for them. Segments like food and packaging industries are still performing well, naturally so. And obviously, going back to the factors of electromobility in the European market is lagging. This is due to various factors regarding the price, insufficient state incentives, inadequate infrastructure as well, the competition coming from China, struggling at Northvolt as well, insufficient resources in form of minerals, largely controlled by China. Also, another point to consider is the relocation of production from Germany. On a large scale, it's not very realistic. There's high unemployment and labor costs are no longer the cheapest. Europe sees countries like Serbia, Romania as a more suitable place for their operations. Obviously, going on to the VW situation, Volkswagen, it's not unique. Automakers worldwide are trying to minimize the costs and share know-how as deep in partnerships to withstand strong competition, especially from China, again, in the field of alternative green drives. Some notable collaborations that we're seeing to combat this is BMW and Toyota in their hydrogen project. There's been a deepened cooperation with this company. We also see General Motors and Hyundai Motors in 2004. They were in discussions on cooperation in car development with hydrogen and electric, improving their supply chains as well, merging supply chains, which makes them more efficient, obviously, developing their clean energy technology. And again, Nissan and Honda as well. They're in merger talks as well to kind of join on that bandwagon, you could say. So, you know, the goal here for these companies is the alliance should be cost minimalization, right, to better compare with the aggressive Chinese competition that they're experiencing. So yeah, we'll go on to the next slide here. Remuneration and benefits. Benefits haven't changed much in the engineering field here. You know, the offer acceptance does depend on the full package. We're obviously looking at things that have already been covered during this discussion, but the usual points here, the usual contributions that are given, you know, transportation, meal vouchers, that's kind of an expected benefit, and the home office and remote work is definitely appreciated, but as you can imagine, this is not very likely for some positions in engineering, especially at production plants. And also further education and training is well received, especially from people coming from you know, university backgrounds and different industries, basically. So the real motivations here are coming from, you know, how attractive is the project that the person will be working on, the stability of the company and the industry, and also the trajectory of their career. And we're usually seeing this year in general within engineering and logistics in 25 a 3.5% to 6% increase in wage. Now, yeah, obviously you can see below some of the roles and some of the positions that we see, the minimums and the typical salary ranges. I hope I've covered everything as much as I can here. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Most of the details are obviously within our salary guide as well, so you know, feel free to refer back to that if there's anything missing from this discussion. But thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Rashad. And right now to the last section of our presentation, to information technology, and our colleague Maria Ismail.
Hello, everybody. As mentioned, my name is Maria Ismail, and I'm a team lead of IT division where we focus on hiring IT specialists for permanent roles. So let's go together into the technology trends, basically what happened on the market and what we predict. One of the trends which you can see here is called selection of top candidates, which might sound as a bit of a cliche, right? Because everybody wants to have the best candidates on the market. But what we mean by this is that companies are still in this mode of being careful, taking their time, cost saving. So they really want to make sure that they're hiring the best talent, not only from the technical perspective, but there's also increasing importance of just candidates fitting into the team, fitting into the company culture. So we really focus on the best matches. In comparison to that, what we've seen is also there was an increased competition on the market from the candidate side, basically increased willingness to change job. In comparison to the years of COVID era or post-COVID era, where it was more about stability, not losing your job, sticking in, people suddenly became more open for a change. So they were actively also applying to the positions, they were seeking new employments, and they were curious. What actually resulted in being bigger amount of people in the pipeline, and the hiring processes took more time, and most candidates could not secure a new job, in upcoming 1-2 weeks. It doesn't mean that there's a difficulty for an IT candidate to find a role. They still have a wide choice of offers, but it just took more time because they've been compared with other candidates and they weren't, the only ones who you have in your pipeline. Another trend, which is a bit of a negative one, is that we have seen decline in number of junior openings or entry openings on the IT market. IT market is still very attractive for everybody, and many people go through requalification courses, through hiring boot camps because they want to, enter the market, they want to become IT specialist, because that's what the demand is. But as I mentioned before, companies are more careful in this regard, and when they hire, they mostly hire for specific role, niche skills, or highly senior person who is kind of, ready to be plugged in and perform the work. So there were less opportunities for people who just finished an IT course and did not have previous working experience. Another factor, as my colleagues mentioned, the importance of AI. Of course, this is also happening in the IT sphere in many, let's say, many cases. But what we picked in here is that there are currently, during the hiring processes, less case studies or homeworks being given because of AI. Let me basically explain is that of course, AI tools are being used by common general public, but also within the companies. And companies used to test the candidate's knowledge by giving them a case study or homework to work on. Let's say some programming task or some task which would show their skills. But as we all, of course, started to use AI tools, candidates use them also to deliver such case studies. And here it's kind of depending on how the companies will react to that, which standpoint they will take. If a negative one, because they might consider using usage of AI tools as a cheating during the homework, during the hiring process, or if they take a positive standpoint, meaning, okay, it's more effective, it's faster, we are actually happy that the candidate is using these tools because he will use them also in our workspace. All in all, generally said, there are less case studies being given, less homeworks, and of course, companies are trying to navigate through these changes and set up some processes how to react to that. Another trend, rather a negative one, which also was mentioned by my colleagues, is a general push to return to the offices. Generally speaking, we are still operating, or most companies are still operating in a so-called hybrid regime. So 2 days or 3 days on site, or the rest of the week home office. But of course, based on the things which are happening on the market, especially with global companies, where their mother companies are bringing people back to the offices, especially in US, German markets, UK, local branches of these companies on the Czech market need to kind of align to the global guidelines and react to that. So there are discussions about bringing people back or offering them less amount of home office, for example, 1 day per week, or fully on site, of course. But this is very contradictory to what our candidates are seeking. I would not say that majority of people are seeking full remote, but they generally want to have, this choice of being able to say, okay, I will be going to the office tomorrow, or I have some personal matters, I will stay at home. Another factor connected to that can be that companies are focused on retention of candidates, of their employees, and on company culture. And they try to build this culture while bringing, people back in to have some common ground, common discussions. Whereas on the candidate side, the preferred option is to actually have more freedom. Also, what we've seen is increased demand for cloud and cybersecurity specialists, and this is nothing new. It's it continues throughout the years, especially with the cybersec. I would like to mention that we are talking here not only about IT companies as such seeking cybersecurity specialists, but basically all companies throughout the market. If we talk about banks, automotive companies, retail companies, all of them have some data which need to be, secured. So this demand is throughout the whole segment. And also, it's not only about some, penetration testers or some hackers, so to say, but also about people who will be in charge of making sure that company systems are compliant to the regulations in the segment or to the regulations which are being given by the law. So this is also an important factor. Let's move on quickly to the benefits and remuneration section. So in benefits, nothing crazy happened, I would say. We still have a standard list of benefits, meal vouchers, day offs, benefit package like cafeteria, etc. But what we have seen is that also candidates are seeking more this opportunity of working from abroad. So 2 weeks up to 2 months being able to work from another location, from another country. And as you probably seen at the beginning of our presentation, when candidates were choosing the top 10 benefits they have, actually between this top 10 was this option of working from abroad, not only for foreign candidates, but also for the local ones. And in terms of flexibility, there are also trends that some companies are giving the employees a financial budget or a list of benefits, and they can choose what they will use in what amount. So there's again this freedom of choice, what I would like to actually utilize my financial package on as in terms of benefits. When we look into the motivation, I think I might be repeating myself, again in this regard, that there's a huge push for flexibility from the candidate side. So companies are trying to bring people back to the office, but candidates want to have this freedom to actually be able to choose if they want to go, if they don't want to go. And referring back to what we have said in the presentation earlier on, when we asked the candidates what are the most important things for them apart from the salary, there was, of course, the company atmosphere and work-life balance, the flexibility. So these are the most important factors. In terms of salaries itself, we do not expect any big salary growth. What we expect, though, and that's happening throughout the years again, is that salaries might increase on the individual basis within specific teams, specific departments, so it's aligned on the market level. So, and here the across the board increase would be up to 5% maximum. But we also need to take into account individual cases, because if we talk to a passive candidate who is currently employed somewhere else, and such candidate is considering to change his job, of course, such candidates would expect a salary increase for them to have this better salary to make the move. Or if the companies are in an urgent situation, they're time pressured, they do not have such big choice of candidates, they will most likely overpay for somebody to hire them quickly. So the individual salary increase will be even between 5 to 8% max. Here you can see listings of roles which are most in demand. Of course, the full list will be in our salary guide, but it's again nothing much new. So we can see here developers, cloud engineers, SAP, not important maybe for all companies, but especially for the companies which are using SAP or which are still migrating or considered to migrate to S/4HANA, definitely, and cybersecurity specialists. On the last note, I would just like to mention that, of course, a big chunk of the IT hiring world is B2B or freelance cooperation. So here we are preparing a separate salary guide to release later on during this month. So definitely you will not lose this information. You will have all the information about the trends and all use and salaries. So bear with us. It's definitely happening as well. Thank you very much for attention, and I'm open for any kind of questions that may come.
Thank you very much. And that would be all from our side for now. If you still have some questions, then you can still post them in the chat. And what I will just say is, first of all, thank you for your attention and attendance. Second of all, we will be distributing the materials, so the presentations, you will get them. And third of all, if you need any more detailed information, you can refer to the full salary guide on that is free to download on the web, or feel free to reach out to us for anything tailor-made or individual requests or any support that would be needed. Thank you very much again, and have a lovely day.